I've got a bike. You can ride it if you like. It's got a basket, a bell that rings, and things to make it look good. I'd give it to you if I could, but I borrowed it. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter, back for episode 98. We're getting so close.
Well, I thought maybe I'd increase that Twins winning streak to 2 in a row.
Yeah?
But, I mean, I have absolutely no idea who the hell sings that. Give me a hint again now.
A hint?
Is this some garage band somewhere? Or
No.
I should know this band?
You should know this band. I don't know if you'd know this song. This is one of their very early songs. And in fact, this band has had two singers. Well, they have a couple of singers that trade off normally, but they had one originally that got put in the loony bin, and that's kind of why I picked it. It's about bikes, and it's as crazy as the whole bike culture is today. So
put in the loony bin, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
No, he went absolutely insane.
Really?
Yeah.
You stumped me. I don't know who this is.
Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd, really?
Yes. The song is called Bike.
So who's their lead singer? Who was the guy who's in with Bernie Sanders and everybody else in the loony bin?
Really? Oh my word. Well, I mean, all right. So Pink Floyd. I mean, David Gilmour. I mean, obviously, I think they're done recording now. David Gilmour is the guy that does all of the vocals. I guess if in the instance that they were to perform now. But he used to share the duties with Roger Waters, who they kicked out because he was kind of a jerk. They did a reuniting with him back at the. They did like a. I don't remember what it was. It was some sort of.
Reunion thing,
but it was all. But it was for a good cause.
It's like
yeah.
it's like every band
Farm Aid or something.
Every band's like Gone with the Wind. Okay, we'll all be together again someday.
Yeah,
I mean the Monkees get back together. I mean I know Jones has passed on,
right? But no, it was it the anniversary of Live Aid? They called it Live 8, maybe.
Okay.
It was a few, but anyways,
seeing the Queen movie,
yeah.
I actually know what that is now.
Okay, the original guy, Sid Barrett, he's the one that ended up in the loony bin.
Huh.
And they had written a couple of songs that were kind of like a veiled reference and homage to him, but yeah, he's the guy.
So he's in there with Bernie Sanders and Ric Flair. All right. Well, that's interesting.
I don't think Ric Flair's in there.
Woo! Come on, give me one, Jay. Woo! Baby, you and me, baby.
Robbinsdale alum.
That's true.
Ric Flair. Yes. And
his kids, too.
Oh, yeah.
Megan and David.
Megan, who is now Charlotte.
That's right. And his youngest son who passed away, unfortunately, Reed Flair, who passed away.
Yeah.
So he might have one more, but no.
I think he's a little old. Oh, you mean not now? You mean like he already had the child? He's not going to in the future.
He's got like another one in their 30s.
Yeah, he's going to marry somebody that's. Yeah.
See if I can know this off the top of my head. I think he was born in 1949.
Wow.
So that makes him 70. Well, this year he'll be 73. Am I right, Jay?
He was born in 1949, February 25th. He is 69.
That's all?
To this. He's got to be older than that. 49.
Oh, yeah, he'll be 70. He'll be 70 this year. What did I say? Boy, I can't add.
I don't know.
Never mind. Anyhow,
yeah.
I mean, I got to say something, too. You notice that the government shut down. Is your life destroyed?
They shut down?
Have you noticed?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No, if I hadn't ever turned on the news, I wouldn't notice.
Yeah. You just wonder how many employees, and again, nothing against the people personally doing the work.
Right.
They're just trying to make a living, but you just wonder how many
are.
Well, yeah. I mean, but you just, if they can furlough and we don't even notice.
Right.
What could they possibly do?
Exactly. So
Don't tell me government can't, shed 5, 10, 15%. Give me
it's
a
not
break.
like they do much when they're in session anyways. I'm just saying.
Working 8 to 4:30. Got to be tough.
Yeah. That it is.
Hey, I'll tell you, I'm a little perturbed right now. My Alabama team got their asses kicked last night.
Yeah, I saw that.
And and look, it's Clemson and they're in South Carolina, and it's Alabama, so you got two red states. I'm okay with whoever wins.
Right.
But ultimately, I'm a fan of dynasties.
Yes.
I don't celebrate mediocrity. Unlike some fans, that's what they want. They want the way to make other teams better is not to make the good teams worse. And that's,
right.
It's just like the economy.
I don't agree with parity.
You don't take from who's successful. You create the climate so everyone can be successful.
Right. I don't agree with parity. I do like a good underdog story, though, where somebody comes up out of the shadows and just hands it to the man. I'll tell you what.
Well, we grew up with that. We got the 87 and 91 twins. And, Cinderella never goes back to the dance. So, those were one and dones. But, the whole point is that you want to go back and celebrate greatness. And to me, because I am not the college football fan I used to be, because I hate the tournament. I hate 16-team conferences. I think it's diluting college football. I think you're going to at some point you're going to have like a power 60.
Yeah.
You're going to have what we know as Division I AA is what the Sun Belt and the WAC and those teams are going to be. And then the one AA. We're going to create another tier of football. We're going to have 5 mega conferences, and that's all there's going to be. And so I think, unfortunately, that's the direction it's heading. I think that's a shame. I loved seeing the Big Ten and the in my mind, it's the Big Ten and the Pac-10 in the Rose Bowl.
Right.
I don't know what the Big 14 we are now, and the Pac-12, I guess it is.
I think we're still called the Big Ten, but
but we got Maryland and Rutgers in there. Come on.
I don't know.
I mean, and to me, Nebraska belongs playing.
They should be.
Oklahoma and Texas and teams like that. But anyhow, so my Roll Tide let me down. Nick Saban going for his 7th title because he won one at LSU. And, and I believe that would have been a record. I believe Bear Bryant and Newt Rockne, the old Notre Dame coach from the 20s, both have 6. I think that's the record. So Saban could have broken it and didn't do it. And, you never know when you'll come back to the dance. I mean, it's not that easy to get there anymore with all these games.
Unless you're Alabama.
Well, I mean,
we'll
see. I mean,
their starting quarterback's going to be a junior next year?
Clemson's, their starting quarterback was a freshman.
I know.
You think we might see a rematch next year?
It's very possible, yeah.
Although I think Alabama's going to have some underclassmen that go out this year.
Possible.
So I don't know. I was just, boy, it was ugly. I'll tell you what, football is getting uglier and uglier watching I don't know what it is. There's something disgusting about watching, 45 to 37 type games, and I know the game wasn't that close last night, but it's like, it's just kind of, what the hell was that?
I don't know.
You watch a 12 to 10 baseball game that takes 5 hours. And it's, it's just, as big a baseball fan as I am.
Yes, it's still,
So, the government shut down. My Crimson Tide lose. Just when we talked about USC getting beat.
Yeah.
We talked about that last week or the week before, about the greatest game I've ever seen, greatest football game I ever saw, which was USC Texas back in the Rose Bowl in the 05 season, so January of 06, which I don't think we'll ever see a better game than that. But my teams lose again. Why do I bother?
Sorry.
At least I wasn't stupid enough. Just like primary day last year when I was stupid enough to come out and make 10 Dan Deerdorf bold statements, and about 3 of them came out to be right.
Yeah. Wow. That's all right. Unless somebody goes back and listens to those episodes, which you should with all of our back episodes, by the way, it will be forgotten. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
History won't remember that unless you go back and listen, which you should.
And you will, judging by our ratings, you will. Now, Jay.
Yes.
Were you aware of? We're going to start just with a little bit of a blurb, since we're talking about biking. Pretty much
good.
This entire
Why
time.
not? It's January. I'm
Right.
sure that they're all out in force.
Of course, and of course out in Wyoming they're biking in the mountains right now. And Alaska they're biking, and
Yeah.
I'm sure up in New York and stuff where you can't even walk in the streets. I'm sure they're planning that regional trail from Yankee Stadium to the Empire State Building to the Statue of Liberty across the Brooklyn Bridge to then over to Staten Island. I'm sure they're planning that interconnected.
They're modeling it after the system in Greenland, which goes from that one city to.
That's
right. I think they only have one city in Greenland, but
the house to the other house.
the army base to the
It might be. I mean, it could be. But the USA Today, and I didn't even know they were still around.
Yes, apparently they are.
I didn't know that. Did you know they were still around? I had no
I don't
idea.
follow it.
Well, they had an article recently, and I blogged about it on our blog on January 7th. So you can take a look at it. Of course, the article is in blue. My comments, I always stick them in there.
Yes.
Are in the normal black type. But it's an article about how, I'm just going to briefly summarize it, and we could pick it apart a little bit, about how biking is declining right now in the United States, despite every effort on the face of the earth to get us out of our car, off our rented sofa with the spring sticking out of it, grandma out of the old folks' home, drag kids out of the nursery to go biking. Biking is still declining here in the United States. And some of the sharpest declines are in the biggest, you'd think, I'll call them progressive, big cities where they have completely embraced not just the biking.
Oh, I know.
Culture, whatever that is exactly.
Active living,
like you said, interconnected trails, complete streets, bike renting, bike sharing. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
What, you ride it for half an hour and I'll ride it for half.
You get on the handlebars.
Yeah,
for
bucking.
the next
We'll do
6
some bucking.
blocks, and then it's my turn. We're gonna reach Bloomington by noon. You just wait.
But that's optimistic. But here's kind of the big thing here. Now, the percentage of people who say they use a bike to get to work, it doesn't say how often, fell 3.2% from 2016 to 2017. I guess this is nationwide. And that is down from a high in 2014. Now, wait till you hear the reasons that these advocates claim that this is happening. Because some cities, like Tampa, Florida, Cleveland, cycling's dropped by 50%.
What? I mean, I'm not surprised, but, I mean, if it truly has dropped that much and they're still pushing it, there's a disconnect somewhere.
Right, but I'll get into that. That's happening. Everybody tries to become more bike-friendly. Here are their reasons. That we have lower gas prices and a stronger economy. Oh, damn. Sorry about that. I mean, damn capitalism just ruins everything. Here's the other thing. The rise of ride-hauling services like Uber and Lyft have cut in, apparently, to that.
How dare they?
Once again, capitalism.
Yes.
I mean, once again,
people really don't want a bike if they can't afford to buy a car.
Right. And again, it's innovation. It's private sector thinking. It is people acting as 1099s. A lot of people who do that are part-time doing those kinds of things. So ultimately, the issue is with the fact that there's just too much capitalism going on around there. I mean, gas prices are just too low. You can't have this.
I saw it at $1.95 today in one place. It's $1.99 in a bunch of places. I think
I saw it right around $2. It may have been a tad over or a tad under, but the last recently I have seen that.
Crystal in Holiday currently, or Holiday in Crystal currently has it at $199.
Okay, so that's on 81.
Yeah,
that one. Okay, I used to go to that one all the time.
Yes,
in Crystal, constantly. Around the country, city transportation officials wish there were more bicyclists, as they seek to cut traffic congestion, promote health, and identify alternatives to cars. Well, there you have it. Right there in a statement. I mean, that's about as brazen as we've seen it.
I wish.
Yeah, I wish you had that goddamn freedom. Well, we got to stop that freedom. We can't have that freedom anymore.
It's like Burgess Meredith said in was it Grumpy Old Men 1 or 2?
I only remember him from Rocky.
You can wish in one hand and crap in the other and see which gets filled first.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
The bike advocacy group, the League of American Cyclists, found a mix when it examined biking trends in the 70 largest cities based on their extensive analysis. You'd think they went through all of these cities where it's down. I mean, 19% down in San Francisco, 11% down in New Orleans, 20.5% down in Seattle.
Now,
Seattle, the hub of progressive thinking.
Oh, yeah, Seattle and Portland. I mean, I read an article this week bringing up Seattle, that Seattle has for a long time been saying we don't want to become San Francisco. But this was written in Seattle, in a Seattle publication.
Who wrote that?
I'm trying to remember. I can maybe try to look it up. But basically, we don't want to become San Francisco, but we've noticed that the rest of the nation is saying they don't want to become Seattle. You know, and so you're completely right, and Seattle excluded, but I mean not to a great degree. I mean, Seattle has a lot of rain; they don't get a ton of snow. When they do, it melts quickly. But I mean,
it's a slightly different climate.
San Francisco and New Orleans, they can bike pretty much year round.
Well, true, and let's add Austin, Texas to this.
Well, you can't bike in the summer in Austin, Texas, but it depends when you're biking. But
or what time of day, perhaps. Maybe you could in the morning. I know
you don't want to bike when it's 110, but
listen to officials and how they react to this. This is my favorite part. In Austin, Texas, there is a 24% drop, and there's been a 38% decline since 2011. So this is a trend going this entire decade.
Now, Austin, Texas is super progressive as well. That is the capital city. That's where all of the people come from inner city Houston and from inner city Dallas and any other semi-progressive place in Texas.
Yeah, if you want to look at the blue spot of Texas, it is definitely the southeast part.
Yeah, and Austin, it's super progressive, but yet bicycling is going down. I mean that speaks volumes right there.
Well, but they're not paying attention, Jay. City officials said that they have a strategy to increase ridership by concentrating their biking infrastructure effort on trips up to 3 miles, very doable by a bike. We want to make it possible, said this Laura Durnenfield, the city's division manager of active transportation. Now, what frickin' school did she go to get that?
She assistant manager or assistant to the manager? No. I don't know. That is crazy talk to me. And they think if we build infrastructure, it is going to make more people bike. People have always ridden bikes, and I don't think it is because of. I don't think that if you build better paths, you're going to get more people to bike. I don't think people stay home because of that. The really avid bikers are going to bike. A lot of them are fine. You don't hear from them. You have that noisy few that are always complaining about something. They're going to complain about it no matter what. It doesn't matter how protected the bike paths are. Pretty soon they're going to be still too close to traffic. There's too many cars. We need our own lane.
Safety is the red herring.
It is
They'll
the red
always
herring.
claim. I mean, where are bikers and walkers getting run over every day? That's what I'd like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, obviously, I don't want that to happen, but
Not ever.
they always will talk about safety. If there's an accident, it's always the car's fault. The whole point of the whole article that we're talking about and what we did on Community Solutions is that despite the actions of people in these progressive big cities, okay, there's still, not only is it declining, but the planners, they don't know what to do. Their response to this is to double down on it.
Oh, absolutely. I retweeted an article this week about Washington, D.C., where they want to make it allowable for people to bring their bikes on the trains 24/7. Well, okay, are you biking or are you taking a train? I mean,
well, remember, transit is considered active living by...
Which is ridiculous. It's like, are you biking? Well, yeah. Really? Because you're biking maybe a little ways and then taking the train, and then you're maybe biking a little ways. It's become an an accessory. It's no different than a necklace or a bracelet or
you've said it best.
Supreme bag or
you've said it best. There is this desire to be the most trendy. There's something elitist.
Absolutely.
Something elitist about this biking stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like a race to the bottom. It's like everybody's trying to put out the most feces or something, and that gets a winner.
Wow.
But I mean, it's crap to the nth degree. I mean, look, you can't connect everything on the face of the earth. Every street doesn't need a sidewalk.
No.
Okay, remember, the key word is need. Okay, I want a sidewalk in front of schools, Jay.
Yes.
I want them in front of hospitals.
Yep.
I want them in front of malls. Okay, and maybe some other big businesses and commercial areas.
Downtown areas absolutely should have sidewalks.
In front of Twin Stadium, whatever. Outside of that, they are a want, not a need.
Yeah.
Period. End of story. So, if people don't use this stuff, it still isn't going away. I guess that's the moral of the story here as we kind of get into, the groups that are advocating this, to be a little more specific about it than we have in the past, that regardless of where you live, you can live in the mountains in Wyoming, you can live in Alaska, you can live in Maine, you can live in Virginia, you can live in Kansas. And I'm telling you, biking is being pushed somehow, in some way, shape, or form, where you are. Period. No ifs, and buts about it.
And we'll talk about it later. Big cities, small towns, rural areas. It's all over the place. I mean, you and I have just received some stuff from the city of Big Lake, where they formed a the Big Lake Bicycle Advisory Committee. I mean, tell me that government has a role in that. Yes, it's an official city advisory committee. They have every right to form a bicycle club. Well, but to form a government advisory committee to the city council that is totally based on special interest, that only takes into account a small fraction of the population. It's ridiculous.
The way I interpret that is they want an excuse to put more biking and walking. And their way to do this is to say, well, we put together a committee, and here's what they're recommending. What do you want to bet the committee is,
100%
everybody on there are advocates of it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm interested in biking. I'm going to get on that committee.
I don't want it, so I'm not going to waste my time with it.
Right.
I think it's political cover. I think it's just cover.
It's terrible.
I think it's cover so they can say, well, we put together, we studied this, blah, blah, blah.
You know what? You want to form a private club and go and petition your government to go get them made. God bless you.
And pay for it yourself.
Go do it. But you know what? To have this an official government committee who was backed and started by the mayor of Big Lake, that now you guys elected over to the county commission, so good job on that one. Way to do your homework. You guys, you have to start taking this stuff more seriously at the local level. I mean, the things that they're talking about, I mean, making plans for interconnected paths and open streets, and maybe we'll get into open streets a little bit later, or maybe we'll do a different podcast on them. This is open streets is basically every time your parents yelled at you to get out of the street or stop playing in the street when you were a kid, those people never grew up and they formed a group so that they could do that later on.
Now, I did that as a kid, but I didn't form a group there. I mean, I remember playing touch football in the middle of the street.
And you lived to talk about it. That's amazing.
Got scraped up pretty good, but I'll tell you what, nobody went home crying.
Nobody got run over, I'll bet, either.
Absolutely not. I mean, I did throw a ball once that broke some guy's bug deflector, but other than that.
Oh, boy.
Well, here in Minnesota, I mean, I know we've touched on this, Jay. I mean, the war on cars and my idea, the BST, bicycle sales tax. You want this stuff, you do it, you pay for it yourself.
Your own stuff.
Because what biking advocates want is they want everything for them, but they don't want to pay for anything. They want to charge drivers to pay for the whole kit and caboodle. And nowhere is that more obvious than bikemn.org.
Bikemn.org. That sounds lovely.
And they are a little bit, in some ways, Jay.
That is called the Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota.
Right. But bikemn.org is their website. They are connected in a little bit with the bikeleague.org, kind of like the League of Minnesota Cities and the National League of Cities. They're all kind of, they all kind of go to Thanksgiving together. They all kind of, I mean, pretty much. I mean, there was a bike summit on Capitol Hill.
No, I did not know that.
Amazing the things you learn. Now, they have not come out yet with that I can find anyway, with a 2019 legislative agenda, but they sure had one in 2018. And maybe with Republicans in charge, they wanted to come out swinging with that.
I'm sure they'll come along with it, sooner or later. I mean, they don't have as much time on their hands because they're biking everywhere, Andrew.
That's right. How do they all get to the Capitol? How do they all get to rally at the Capitol? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, the buses have those bike racks on the front. They took the bus over there and then biked up the hill.
So that's their active living, is to take the bus. Ever seen the people on the bus? No, I won't even go there. Okay? But like I've said,
see a prior episode.
Like I've said before, they're the unhappiest people on the face of the earth are people taking the bus. Including me, when I had to take it. And I have taken a bus my share. Okay? So, it definitely has happened. But Bike MN, and Jay, we need to look into this in a different episode.
Okay.
Supports $6 million for safe routes to school infrastructure grant funding that was in the bonding bill, which we talked about last year. I don't know if we pointed that out, but I remember us doing a show on the bonding bill and what was the little goodies that were being passed out to local government. So grant funding. So that tells me that's $6 million you have to go apply for.
Yes.
You have to have the most radical, bike-friendly, walking-friendly, crawling-friendly, swimming-friendly, cartwheel-friendly plan.
Yes.
To get to school. Now, keep in mind, okay, we're already providing busing for people for nothing.
Yes.
I mean, it's not. They're not being charged when they get on the bus.
Right. It's taken out beforehand.
It's being billed to taxpayers.
Yes.
And safe routes to school. How far away do you have to live? You being the parent around here, I mean, how far do you think it is that I'll just say this. I know I'm going back a lot of years, but when I went to Lincoln Elementary School, and your kids, I think, went to daycare there or something. Or no. Pre-K, wasn't it, maybe?
Which one is Lincoln?
The one that's now the charter school on 62nd and West Broadway.
62nd and West Broadway.
I thought you told me that once, but maybe I'm full of it. Anyhow.
I don't know.
Now, that was about 10 blocks from my...
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
And I was bused. 10 blocks.
Prairie Seeds is what it's
Prairie called. Seeds is what it's called now.
Yes.
And sometimes I rode my bike when I got older.
Yes.
But 10 blocks away, I think I was maybe a mile. It might have been a mile. Yeah. It could have been through Lions Park, and it might have been a mile. So I was bussed. Some of my friends on my block were bussed. I can't imagine it's gone further out since then.
No.
So how close? If you're living, I'll just throw Crystal in this, just because you and I know that city best. If your kids are going to Forest Elementary, let's just say, and you people who don't know Crystal, just stick with us on this. And you live, say, 4 or 5 blocks south of that, which would be 44th, 43rd, 45th, something like that. What is your safe route to school? What needs to be changed to make that a, quote, safe route to school?
Nothing.
Okay, so then what are we missing here? What are we looking to do with this, with these grant dollars?
Oh, they want to make bike lanes, and they want to interconnect them so that kids have a safe way to get to school, or they can proclaim that kids have a safe way to get to school through bike lanes, through making sure there are sidewalks, not only in front of the school, but throughout the neighborhood. They want to make sure that...
Okay, but it's all residential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay,
in most cases.
I understand if you are by a busy street or close to a highway or...
Right, well... Like what? Is it the Spanish Immersion School? Isn't that on Medicine Lake Road? I mean, that's a busier street.
Absolutely. And right by Boone, there are sidewalks on both.
Yes, there are.
There are, what do you call the patrols out there?
Yep.
I know because I've driven by at that time. There's a speed trap also, by the way, that New Hope patrols regularly.
Well, they got to pay for that city hall somehow.
Yeah, so, I mean... but again, what more could you do? I don't understand what is to be added over there that is going to change things.
They could put in a pedestrian walk bridge over Medicine Lake Road. How about that?
I suppose they could.
Elevator on each side so that those who are handicapped...
Maybe a pole vault so people can pole vault over the road? I don't
know.
Okay, anyway... We're getting distracted, but here's also what they lobbied for. Funding for statewide health improvement partnership. SHIP is what it's called. What the hell is that?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll move on. Are we informative here to the audience? Bike MN supports funding for trail projects, including the Parks and Trails Council of Minnesota. Who are they?
That's coming on a future episode.
Okay. Boy, I sure as hell don't know too much.
Well, it's hard, Andrew. They have so many groups and so many side groups and so many side groups to the side groups that you can't get your arms around everything. It's like you could put in 10,000 hours of study and you still would not have mastery over all political things in Minnesota.
You and I have been at this for about 11 years now.
Yeah.
And we still are learning things every day.
And we do tons of research every week.
Like I said, you and I are Mrs. and Mr. and Mrs. Local Government.
And you're Mrs.
And we're still learning. Learning
yes.
never stops. You and I get asked questions all the time. It's like, who the hell are they?
Yeah. A lot of the times we know there are a few that still catch us by surprise, like this,
Parks and Trails Council of Minnesota. Yeah. Grassroots trail projects. That's what they propose. Bike Minnesota supports the trail portion of the Metropolitan Council's funding request. How about the rest of it? Do you support the rest of it too? Bike Minnesota supports funding for active transportation infrastructure and non-infrastructure programs in any transportation package passed by the legislature. However, we are not proposing any funding unless an agreement on long-term transportation funding is reached. Well, what would that be? What's long-term transportation funding? The legislature changes every 2 years. They appropriate money every 2 years. So tell me, should we have, instead of a biennium, should we have a 15-year ennium?
No. And this is where, it's difficult because you need the long-term plan in government, When we had Mayor Jim Adams on, he was talking about long-term funding and being able to save for things over time so that you didn't have to write bonds.
True.
That's not what they mean here.
Right. And in Crystal, you're not getting an income tax, a gas tax, a sales tax.
Right.
I mean, you don't have 200 sources of revenue.
But, I mean, in government, we can't start at zero every 2 years at the state level. And that's not, again, that's tricky because I'm not saying we shouldn't go by zero-based budgeting. I'm just saying we need to be saving for big projects when we know that things are going to be coming up.
Well, but
these are outside of the bounds of that.
Yeah, and I would also say that who should pay for these things is another sticking point with me.
Yeah,
I mean, you want to have a city wants to be bike friendly, whatever their definition is.
Yeah.
Why should they be able to tap, a million different other places to get it? It's the thing that bothers me to the beginning is that drivers are funding everything. Mm-hmm. It's why some of these places like the National Bike Organization, they're brazen about raising the gas tax constantly. They want it indexed for inflation because they know that the less, if people start driving less and driving more fuel efficient cars, well, that may be good generally, although I don't necessarily think so.
Right.
To me, it's freedom of choice to do what you want, but that revenue source actually starts going down.
Mm-hmm.
And, what do you do at that point? You got to go fishing for money somewhere else. You go through it through our tabs. You do it through the vehicle sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
Every time something happens with a car, the bikes, the trails, the buses, whoever thinks they should get a chunk out of it. How come these bike groups aren't proposing why aren't they willing to step up and pay for their own wishes?
Yeah. They should. That's what they should be doing, trying to find funding and then coming to the city and saying, hey, we have money, we have a plan, can we make this work? Instead, they just look to government to do it all for them, and that's their only reason for existing.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just there to try to get money from us. I mean, that's just all this is about, is just this constant, it's like you said, it's not enough. It's never enough. It never will be enough. Here's another group. Have you ever heard of the Minnesota Mayoral Active Transportation Caucus?
Oh, boy, this sounds like a winner. No, I have not.
There's like 60 mayors on here.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all. And they're all from the metro, aren't they, Andrew?
Oh, no.
Oh, of course they're not.
Come on.
Of course
Come
they're
on.
not. Oh, my word.
It is co-chaired by the mayor of Apple Valley, the mayor of Rochester, and the mayor of Frazee. The only Frazee I know sold Babe Ruth. So where's Frazee, Minnesota?
Frazee's up in Becker County.
Okay, so way up by, what's Becker, Fergus Falls area?
No, that's not, I don't think it's up that far. I think it's around
Park Rapids?
No,
That's Hubbard
because
County.
10 runs right next to it.
So you're talking east of Moorhead then?
Yeah, it is. It's not too far from Detroit Lakes, I guess.
Okay, so you're up there
So
a bit.
a little bit, yeah. Trying to think what else is around there.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the crow flies, it's not that far from Pelican Rapids, I guess. I mean, Fergus Falls is quite a bit like southwest of that. But yeah, so Frazee, but I can understand why Frazee has a biking committee here, or why they're chairing it. I mean, gosh, they have 1,300 people.
Oh, gee.
1,350. Sorry.
So, what percentage of them bikes to work every day?
I would guess there's one guy because he's got 5 D-dubs.
Yeah. Well, I suppose the nearest town isn't like going from Robbinsdale to Crystal. I'm sure it's.
Oh no.
Sure, it's a ways away.
No.
But, I mean, there are a lot.
But the area of Frazee, according to FrazeeCity.com, is 2.96 square kilometers. Not even miles. Kilometers.
So be aware, folks. Go look at bikemn.org under the advocacy page. Mm-hmm. See if your mayor is part of this. Chances are they are. That's not an accident. No. Chances are your comprehensive plan, well, probably does anyway, but includes complete streets, more sidewalks, roundabouts, same crap that we hear everywhere.
Bike lanes and all of it. Yeah. So, I mean, some of the people that are on this, you named the co-chairs. Austin, Minnesota, Bemidji, Rayanne Danielowski, the former mayor of Big Lake, who is now on the county commission for Sherburne County. Hey, that's great. Again, congratulations, you guys. That's a good move. Birchwood Village, Carver, Center City, Duluth, of course. Although who bikes in Duluth? The whole thing's on a hill. I mean, I used to bike in Duluth a ton, but I was like in Proctor, and I would bike out to Cloquet and back every day, and that was up and down Highway 2. I lived to tell about it. I would bike down the hill down to West Duluth, and I would bike back up the hill to Proctor. I would bike to my grandparents out in Piedmont area and bike back to Proctor. I lived to tell about it. I didn't need bike lanes. I stayed on the shoulder. I ended up doing okay. But I mean, even more though. I mean, looking at Fergus Falls is on the list. Grand Marais, International Falls, with all 3 days a year they can bike up there.
It's not many.
No, it's not. Medford, Morris, New Ulm. I'm not going to read them all, but Royalton up in Morrison County, our buddies up there that also have a Green Step initiative. Yeah, that's good stuff up there. Worthington, Winona. It's
well, and again, I mean, the bigger the city, and the more crowded the city, it's a little bit more. Again, no reason to join a group. No reason to. Why can't you just do what go your own way in this stuff? I mean, what is the point of this coalition? I mean, it's just to get more money, I guess, more tax dollars.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that is really all it is about.
And I'll tell you what, they have a whole page here on local bicycle advocates.
Yeah.
So we have Bike MN chapters.
Yeah.
Okay, and
I'd like to see the final chapter.
First off, here's one.
Yes.
Bike FM. No, that's not biking with your radio. That is Fargo Moorhead has their own bicycle group.
I bet they do.
Duluth Bites. Oh, Bikes. I'm sorry. That's another one. Pedal Fergus Falls.
Oh, boy.
Pedal Fergus Falls. And We Bike Rochester are local chapters of the Minnesota Bicycle Alliance here.
Wow.
Also, there are other local Bike MN committees. Greater Mankato is one. Bike and Walk the Park. Guess what city that's talking about? One we're sitting in.
Yes, I imagine. Yes, Jake Spano was on that list.
No surprise.
No surprise.
Bike Northfield, Bloomington Bike Alliance, Lake Links Trail Association, Our Streets Minneapolis, people on Twitter who love us.
Oh, of course.
Richfield Bike Advocates, St. Paul Women on Bikes, I guess it's a penis-free group, Shoreview Bicycle Coalition, Wilmer Bikes. So there you go. There's the, pardon my humor there, but there's other groups affiliated with this. I mean, this is another thing where there's an organization out in Washington. There's one in Minnesota. Then it drops down. This is no different than having the League of Minnesota Cities, the National League of Cities, and then it all filtering down to the 850 cities in Minnesota.
Right.
I mean, it's just a whole big cluster of stuff. I mean,
well, I mean, and that's how you do it, though. You know, you have a group, you form chapters of that group, and then you have local groups, and you infiltrate it to a point where it's hard to tear it out because it is so diversified.
Yeah, and it becomes so ingrained. I mean, it becomes so second nature that, I mean, it doesn't even get questioned anymore. I wonder if it even gets. Wonder how much of this stuff even gets scrutinized. I mean, city staff probably doesn't scrutinize it at all.
Oh no, it's like, hey, here's something on bikes. We should do this.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. You want some other groups that they work with here?
Absolutely.
Just in Minnesota alone. They work with the Minnesota Complete Streets Coalition, Transit for Livable Communities, the Minnesota Sierra Club. They've got a chapter.
Oh, jeez.
The Fresh Energy Minnesota, the Minnesota Environmental Partnership, and Twin Cities Streets for People.
Streets for People, as opposed to mountain lions?
I guess so. People only in the streets.
Yeah. Keep your dogs out. We reserve the right to clothesline any of them.
Oh, Julia Hill must be part of that.
Sorry. Yes.
They've also got a bunch of committees. Hennepin County has a bicycle advisory committee.
Oh, of course they do.
Of course, so does Minneapolis, so does Fergus Falls.
Mm-hmm.
One of their things in their local toolkits is to set these up in schools. I guess we call Big Lake, I suppose they're next.
Yeah, well, I know there's a bunch of communities around Big Lake as well that already have done that, which kind of surprises me based on...
And Jay, let me tell you something. What else do we talk a lot about? Regional government.
Yeah. Regional government.
Regional development commissions are another target.
Oh, absolutely, because one of the things that these regional development organizations do is that they help with planning around comprehensive plans. So when a city needs a comprehensive plan written or rewritten or edited, or they can go to the regional development organization for help with that. And if the regional development organization is already kind of dyed in the wool, so to speak, they're ready to advocate for bicycle items and programs. They are going to get that into the comprehensive plans of these cities that are within their region.
No doubt about it. In fact, there's another group that they work with, Transportation Forward, MN.org.
Ooh.
It is time for the Minnesota legislature to fund a 21st century transportation system and position all our families and communities and businesses for economic health and quality of life. Translation, this is a 19th century plan.
Yes. Trains and trolley cars and
horses and whatever. I mean,
yes.
And of course, it's all about residents of every age. Everybody, if you're 6 months old and you want to ride a bike, we want to make sure you can.
Yes.
If you're borderline diabetes, we want to make sure you have a bike that so we can work on that. So, I mean, Transportation Forward, I mean, they haven't updated their site in a little bit, but they do have this Get the Facts section.
I love how they say get the facts.
Although really I don't see any facts. I don't see any facts in here. I mean,
there's one right there. Minnesota transportation problems cannot be solved with one-time stopgap fixes.
Well, that's a fact.
That's a fact.
How about this? Transportation I shouldn't laugh because they basically a common sense solution, which of course Transportation Forward believes Minnesota should not only keep roads and bridges in good repair, but also develop and enhance public transportation. Well, that's a fact. That's their opinion.
Yeah. They do have all these legislative priorities.
Right, which again aren't facts, they're opinions as well.
No, they're just their priorities. So get the facts. What are the facts? That you don't have any facts?
Here's another thing. They don't advocate a one-stop solution, yet they advocated $70 million in one-time money for transit in the metro area. Well, isn't that a stopgap?
Yeah. Yeah, it's new one-time money. The section, two sections above that, the problems cannot be solved with a one-time stopgap fixes. You go down, top sentence, two sections later, we need a one-time money of $70 million.
God, $70 million bucks?
Oh, goodness.
I don't know. The funny thing is they don't. Once again, you have coalition partners. Listen to this list. There's about 100 of them.
Yes.
AARP, AFSCME. What do they have to do with this? All Aboard Minnesota. Alliance for Metropolitan Stability. Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota. The same. Blue Cross Blue Shield. Cycles for Change. East Metro Strong. Growth and Justice. I-494 Corridor Commission. What's Isaiah?
A book of the Bible. I think it's in the Old Testament.
League of Women Voters.
I think I know. Yeah.
Minnesota Greenway Coalition. Minnesota Food Share. MN 350. Our Streets Minnesota. River Valley Action. Suburban Transit Association. The Trust for Public Land. I mean, I can go on and on. There's like 100 of them.
Yeah.
That are, again, all, I mean, this is the picture of what we're up against here.
Exactly. And they're all getting grant money. All of them. They're getting funded. They have groups contributing to them. They're getting foundation money. They're getting donations from the people, the activists that believe in their cause.
It's pretty scary, but I mean, these groups, I mean, they are everywhere. How did this happen, Jay? I mean, how did these biking groups get to be such a big deal?
Well, a lot of it has to do with what we talk about all the time with, climate change being such a big concern and that it's man-made and our cars contribute so much CO2 to the atmosphere that we've got to find a different way to do it. So you'd better not drive. So this is just one arm of that where the bicycle thing, most people don't, but there are a lot of people that feel good about it because they're not polluting the environment by driving, which I would argue they probably do drive depending on where they're going. The majority of them do, and most of them probably never think about the good they're doing to the environment more than
they go buy an electric car.
It's they get to talk about it, which makes them feel good, I guess. But
we've been subsidizing since the 70s.
I mean, there are people that do it for exercise and whatever, and that's great.
Yeah, there are people who bike to work every day and go for a bike ride on Saturday.
Yeah.
That's one thing.
Yeah. But it's specifically the people that do it so that they can talk about doing it, which a lot of these people are.
Right, but it's all this demand to try to change our standard of living. They're trying to reduce our standard of living.
Right, because it's not enough for them to bike. They have to take away the right of other people to move about the way that they choose to move about. They talk about having freedom of movement, that they can move freely from one place to the other using bicycles, but they want to restrict somebody else's freedom in order to do it.
But I'm just lost on that. I'm just, it's it just is really infuriating. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, you want to go bike on your own time, go do it. But if I don't want to, then, not only do you put things that make it difficult for me to drive and demonize me because I don't want to, you also are charging me for it.
Yeah.
Pay your own frickin' bike lanes. The BST. I'm going to say that a million times. That is as soon as these people have to pay for it themselves, they're not going to want to do it.
Well, that's true.
As long as they can rape us, they're fine with it. Figuratively.
Yeah, right.
Well.
Really? That's where you're going to go with that?
You said well.
You're going to give it some thought?
I'm giving it some thought.
All right. But they're, like we've said, I mean, there's a whole bunch of these groups, and they're not just local groups or Minnesota groups. There's national groups. Another one is we talked a little bit about the Bike League, but, bikeleague.org, the League of American Bicyclists. They have a national bike summit. They have a program called Bicycle Friendly America, which is supposed to provide a roadmap of hands-on assistance and recognition for states, communities, and universities and businesses. And it's supposed to be a tool for states, communities, and businesses and universities to make bicycling a real transportation and recreation option for all people.
You'll be glad to know, too, that they helped establish May as National Bike Month.
Oh. It's hard to get through.
They have a category called Smart Cycling. Is that like smart growth?
I don't know.
But they've got they've got kits for local governments.
Oh, yeah.
Videos, classes, things on how to advocate, sample resolutions. It's one of these kind of all-encompassing places to look.
And they have training for drivers that make them bicycle-friendly drivers.
Well, no, what does that consider? I don't even. You know what? I don't even want to know. And of course, they advocate the federal government as well about transportation bills and so on and so forth. Like, they support automated vehicles, which is supposedly on the fast track, which I don't believe. I think that'll go the way of the electric car.
We'll see. The way that exists now, it's not super helpful, but we'll see, because once we have 5G technology, everything is going to change. And
Jay, educate me on what that is.
Okay, well, right now everything is running on 4G, and it's fast, but there's still a delay in that. Now, 5G supposedly is
4G what? What does the G stand
for? You got me. I know enough to be dangerous. You know what? I can look it up. But basically, that 4G is fast, but it's not fast enough to make split-second decisions.
I see. So the car can't react quick enough.
But supposedly with 5G, it can make those decisions in a split second. Oh, there's a car right next to me. I can't move over. Oh, that car's slowing down. I need to slow down. Oh, the car can react in real time as it.
Let me just
to what's going on around it in the environment.
Okay, here's the thing. Technology is the one thing we can't hold back.
G stands for generation, by the way. Yes.
Technology is the one thing we can't hold back.
No.
But I see a lot of problems with automated vehicles. One being, are we going to own these things? Are these things are they like Lyft or
Yeah, I think we will own them because...
what do they look like?
Trying to remember off the top of my head. I think it's Chevy was talking about building these 5G vehicles and transferring some...
So they are used with our tax dollars.
Well, not
dollars.
anymore because they paid it off. supposedly. They're supposedly till the next time. But that they're calling them pods. And so that,
you think we'll see this in our lifetime?
Yes, absolutely, without a doubt, I do. Because here's the thing. I mean, 5G is starting to make. Nobody has total 5G technology yet. China is as close as it comes in a lot of respects because of what they and Google have been working on with their tracking system, like tracking people.
Right.
Tracking system.
Communists are always ahead on things like that.
And they're sharing it with Venezuela and whatever. Anyways, I know that there is some concern, and this hasn't got a lot of play, but it's interesting that as far as a lot of the technology, like the components and stuff, there's a lot of these components that are being manufactured in China. So there's like a real concern over these components being used, that the Chinese technology then is stealing that information out of what we're creating, that these components then are taking that and reporting that back to China so they can steal our...
So President Trump's not out to lunch on worrying about stuff like this.
No, actually, he had suggested a $5 billion, I guess it would be a subsidy, but in this case it's good, I think, because it would be to pay off businesses that had already agreed to use the Chinese technology to pay them back for their investment into that and get them out of the Chinese technology.
Okay. Huh.
So it's in the name of security, domestic security. Yeah.
I don't know. Are they going to look like trucks or look like cars? Or everybody going to be the same? Or, I mean, you got to think. Here's the problem. Everybody focuses on driving to work and back. That's not the only reason you have a car.
Yeah.
Go on vacation and to, go out to dinner and bring the kids home from soccer practice and to haul things and move. And how about the trucking industry and bringing back? You're going to put a semi truck full of automated things. I mean, I think
it's explosive that it's carrying. Or
I think we're looking at 100 years.
I don't know. They're on a small level already using driverless pods, like in the UK. I don't think they're going to be anything like that because we're going to need them to go fast.
Are they going 80 miles an hour down?
No, because look at this thing. It looks like a...
Who would want to ride around in that thing? It looks like R2-D2 falling over.
Yeah, it's no good. I wouldn't be caught dead in that, I don't think.
I don't know. I think it's a long, long way off. But, then again, I remember as a kid watching the Jetsons, wondering when I was ever going to have to see somebody...
Yeah,
like Mr. Spacely calling, and we got Facebook Live, we've got or FaceTime, and we've got all these things. I never thought I'd see them all.
Yeah.
So who knows?
The rate of technology is doubling at a faster and faster pace, and eventually, I mean, it's going to blow our mind how quickly it doubles. At some point, they're going to put, as much as they can, I think, a halt on the rate, just because they've got to be able to capitalize monetarily on things that they put out. But once AI takes over, and it will, because you create something and you assign it a certain task, and it will do that task, but it will learn to do it like better than any human could, just because it comes at it thinking about it differently. That I don't know. I don't know how you put the cap back on that once it's released.
I don't think you do, but I think I think it's going to take generations to...
I don't think it will. I think things are going to be radically different by 2030, 2040, 2050.
Huh. Well, who knows with millennials? I mean, they're used to having everything at the palm of their hand.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know about that, though. I just, it's kind of scary. Don't you think it's kind of scary?
In the wrong hands, it definitely can be. And so, like, how far do you go,
But what's the line between innovation and things like that and the wrong direction that it could go.
Oh, we've been fighting that forever, though, Andrew. Whether it's cloning, whether it's
planes, trains, cloning's a great example. You name it. I don't know. I don't know that changing people's habits like that. I mean, we talk about everybody trying to put in bike lanes, and it just isn't changing people's habits from driving.
No.
So are people just who've driven for 40 years just going to suddenly buy a driverless vehicle and never drive again? I mean, I don't. I'm just saying, what I'm saying is I think the transition from everybody driving to everything being automated is not going to happen in 5 or 10 years.
No.
That's going to take generations to happen.
I don't know about generations. I think
100 years, I'm saying.
I think you could maybe not millennials, but although some of them will grab onto that, I think with like Generation Z, none of them drive yet. And if you have the technology with 5G and stuff, I think if that's what you bring them up in, that's what they're going to embrace.
I don't know. I like it when you're wrong, so I think I'm just going to stick with my 100 years.
Sorry,
how about insurance? How do you do insurance with stuff like that?
I don't know.
The whole industry has to get rewritten. Laws have to get rewritten.
If you're not driving, how are you at fault?
Exactly. I mean, can you sue the manufacturer for every little?
I don't see why not.
Going 70 miles an hour with nobody in the controls. I mean, how about planes? I mean, we're going to have pilotless planes. I mean, where does it end?
I don't know.
I think it's another thing that I think legal stuff's going to slow it down too. Who can sue who?
Yeah, some of that may slow it down a little bit. The technology will be there. The application always lags behind.
You're wrong again. Anyhow, I mean, hopefully, we gave you some info here about I know we kind of went off track like we always do about the biking and the coming to a town near you if it hasn't been there 50 times already.
Yeah, well, the story you've told so many times, I'm surprised that Orr, Minnesota did not show up on that list.
I was looking for them.
But, the whole striving to be car-free, when you have 200 people in the town, it's
40 miles to the next town?
Yeah.
Get that automated car to go take you there.
I mean, that just goes to prove it doesn't matter where you are in the state. Their plan, and they've said this, is statewide, that they want to get you out of your car. They want you to bike. They want to provide opportunities for people to do this. And once they start putting bike lanes in, I mean, and Minneapolis is the best example on the face of Minnesota, at least. Probably in the Midwest, not including Chicago. Chicago is unnavigable as well. But Minneapolis...
But it has been for about 80 years.
True. Minneapolis is unnavigable with the bike lanes, and there are streets... I drive Minneapolis a lot. There are streets that used to be 4 lanes that really now are at least 2 lanes, where it's 1 lane of driving and you have a big shoulder on one side, you have a big shoulder on the other side, plus you have at least 1 sidewalk, and then you have a bike lane that half of it almost like a full lane for a car is taken up with these like dividers in the middle, these plastic like little dividers to supposedly keep the cars out of the bike lane. And then you've got the bike lane, and sometimes it's 1 way, sometimes it's twice as wide, and it's a 2-way bike lane. And
it's so ridiculous you can barely describe it.
It's almost every street. It is so bad in Minneapolis.
And you want to talk about safety for drivers? How about safety for bikers? How about quit running red lights? How about quit, flying out in the middle of, I mean, it's every time there's something like this, it's always assumed that the driver is at fault.
Yeah.
And that's just another thing we're fighting, folks. It just never ends.
Yeah. Or, not pulling over and making the line of cars behind you go about 10 miles an hour. That's a fun one.
No kidding. Hopefully I'm not the first car behind them. That's really ticks me off. You got a bike lane, you've got a sidewalk, and the jackass is still in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
I got to look at his spandex spandex nut cup or whatever he's got
Really?
on. And
Oh my gosh.
this girly man helmet or whatever, and their water bottles sticking out of their back or whatever. I mean, I've seen worse, but
Oh boy.
wonder what that spandex thing feels like once it's taken off. Maybe I'll wear something like that next week.
No.
Bring a little spandex in here.
No, you're not next week. You're not for episode 100.
Or any of the 1,000 more we're going to do.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, again, I mean, we went through this. We kind of laid the problem out there. We didn't really give a lot of solutions. I mean, I think long term, yeah, bicyclists aren't going away. I think it's going to continue to decline in popularity. It's just people were gung ho about it at first because of the climate. You had a lot of the people that were on that side of things that were pushing for things like that. I think it's less so. Your fair weather people have fallen off. Maybe it'll stabilize. I don't know. But I think anytime that you are making everybody pay for something that only a handful of people engage in, it's just not right.
Well, it's just like a million other things. A handful of people benefit, and the rest of us get the bill.
That's true. So if you see these things happening in your community, whether they're talking about it, whether they're putting it out in the meeting minutes, whether they're actually putting the lanes in, if you see things changing around you and you want to let everybody know about it, let us know about it. We'll spread the word. You can get a hold of us at Community Solutions Minnesota. That is COMM solutionsmn at gmail.com. COMM solutionsmn at gmail.com. We'd love to come out and talk to a group of you if you want to bring us out or whatever. Otherwise, spread the word. Get these podcasts out there because that is how we make a difference in building Team 20K. Get on those advisory commissions. Heck, if you guys got a bicycle advisory commission in your city, get on it. Let's have some opposing viewpoints. Be passionate about not letting your streets get ruined with this stuff. That's really, those are the solutions. You don't want it, go do something about it, or it's going to get done whether you like it or not. That's not to say there should never be a bicycle lane built anywhere, but Minneapolis is the perfect example of what happens when you build them everywhere. So, you can't just keep building, because then everything eventually comes to a standstill. So, think about that stuff. We're going to be back next week with episode 99, which is exciting in and of itself, Andrew.
Absolutely it is.
And we got
one away from triple digits. Oh. And we got a great show in store for show 100 that'll be coming up in a couple of weeks.
We do.
It's definitely want to tune into that.
A special podcast.
You and I will be on it and everything.
Wow.
That's breaking news.
We're going to come back for episode 100? That's good.
I'm just dripping information out there, drip by drip.
It will be full of information on how you can make a difference in your area. That much I can say. All right. Thank you so much, guys. We cannot do this without you. Without you, we're just two guys running around the state like chickens with our heads cut off, or a chicken little yelling the sky is falling, and nobody paying attention. We need you guys to pick up the ball and run with it because we love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work.
Let me